There are some roles that are just so iconic, it's impossible to imagine anyone else playing. Can you picture anyone else but Hugh Jackman playing the part of Wolverine? Well, you might not have realized it, but another actor actually got the role first. Today we're going to talk about some of the craziest castings that almost happened. We'll also let you know why some pretty major characters ended up being recast after the cameras had already started rolling. If you've ever wondered what happened to Reggie from Riverdale, just keep watching. Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard appeared in the movie Iron Man as Colonel James Rhodey Rhodes, the BFF of Tony Stark. This movie totally revitalized the career of Robert Downey Jr. and ensured he would be an integral part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the next decade. But as for Terrence, well, he didn't even make it to the sequel. In the movie Iron Man 2, the part of Rhodey was played by actor Don Cheadle. So why did Terrence leave the cast before he even got to wear the awesome War Machine armor? Well, it might not have been entirely his choice. Terrence alleged that Robert Downey Jr.'s salary requirements meant his own salary got cut back. However, Robert insisted the situation had nothing to do with him. We can't say for certain what went down in this scenario, and you know Marvel Studios isn't talking. But thankfully, it looks like these stars have managed to put the past behind them and not let it affect their friendship. Do you think Don Cheadle makes a better Rhodey? Linda Hamilton. Actress Linda Hamilton is well known for playing the role of Sarah Connor in the Terminator franchise, so it might surprise you to know that she flat out turned down the chance to reprise the role for Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines. Some stars believe a paycheck is a paycheck, but Linda wanted something more from the script and for Sarah Connor. She turned down the role after seeing there was nothing new or exciting in store for Sarah other than being a sidekick to John Connor. So when it came time for the movie Terminator Genisys, actress EMILIA Clarke was given the role instead. But let's just say Linda isn't losing any sleep over the casting call. She called the movie, quote, very forgettable, end quote, and it seems the critics agreed. EMILIA claims working for the movie was less than fun and says she was actually happy that it was such a flop. This meant she wouldn't be pressured to reprise the role in the future. Ouch. But don't think we've said hasta la vista to Linda, because fans can look forward to seeing her in the movie Terminator Dark Fate. Ryan Reynolds. We all know Ryan Reynolds doesn't have any trouble getting work nowadays. He even got to have his dream come true by portraying anti-hero Deadpool on the big screen. But while Ryan is a big superhero fan, there's a franchise he isn't quite as fond of. He took on the titular role in the movie National Lampoon's Van Wilder, but hated the way people treated him as a result. People started assuming he was a party guy, and it affected his career and his social life. Ryan was so dejected he never even watched the theatrical release of the movie. But then we have actor Jonathan Bennett, who considers the movie one of his favorites. He was excited to star in Van Wilder freshman year, and we're sure Ryan Reynolds was relieved not to be involved. Edward Norton. Terrence Howard may have been the first MCU actor to be replaced, but he certainly wasn't the last. Edward Norton portrayed the role of mild-mannered scientist Bruce Banner in The Incredible Hulk in 2008. It was supposed to be a Hulk smash of a hit, see what we did there? But instead it turned into one of those Marvel movies most people forgot even exists. Following its release, Marvel Studios recast the part, giving it to actor Mark Ruffalo instead. The studio released a statement saying they were looking for an actor who, quote, embodies the creativity and collaborative spirit of our other talented cast members, end quote. As for Edward Norton, he claims that he wanted to move on to more diverse roles instead of playing the same character over and over again. More for Mark Ruffalo, right? Anne Hathaway. It seems like there's nothing award-winning actress Anne Hathaway can't do, but it turns out there are quite a few things she won't do. And at this point in her career, she can afford to be picky. She was considered for the lead role in the movie Knocked Up, but took issues with the birthing scene outlined in the script. She felt the scene was too gratuitous, and even with a body double, she just didn't feel comfortable with her image being attached to it. Instead, the part went to Katherine Heigl, who notoriously had difficulty getting along with the rest of the cast and crew and didn't think much of the movie after the fact. Dougray Scott. Maybe Edward Norton had a point about the hazards of portraying a superhero on the big screen, because nowadays, who can imagine anyone else but Hugh Jackman playing the role of Wolverine in the X-Men franchise? We definitely can't picture it. But surprisingly enough, he wasn't the original actor cast as Logan. In fact, he only got the part because someone else had a scheduling conflict. Who is the mysterious almost Wolverine? That would be Dougray Scott. He landed the part but ended up having to withdraw because he had made a prior commitment to take part in the movie Mission Impossible 2. According to Dougray, he doesn't spend time thinking about what could have been and is happy Hugh ended up with the part. Megan Fox. Sometimes actors are replaced because of simple scheduling conflicts, but other times there is juicy drama involved in these abrupt departures. Megan Fox was part of the Transformers franchise when she learned a valuable lesson about what a small town Hollywood can be. There were rumors that Megan was constantly late to work, and when she was there, she was glued to her phone. Megan then took things to the next level by slamming director Michael Bay and claiming that he was, quote, a nightmare to work for, end quote. Naturally, this did not go over well, to say the least. Megan was fired from Transformers Dark of the Moon and replaced by Rosie Huntington-Whiteley. In retrospect, Megan admits this was a low point of her career and regrets the way she behaved. Do you guys think Rosie did a good job? Alessandra Torresani. Your first thought when hearing the name Alessandra Torresani might be, who? But if that's the case, then we can't tell if you really don't know who she is or if you're just a huge Arrested Development fan. Here, we'll explain it. Alessandra was cast as Anne Veal, George Michael's devoted yet utterly forgettable girlfriend on the show. The original idea was to drive home the point that Anne is less than memorable by having a different actress portray her every single episode. But following Alessandra's episode, the part went to Mae Whitman, who apparently simply excelled at being unexceptional on screen. Imagine being the first to last girl cast in a role meant to be forgettable, only to be literally deemed forgettable. Yikes. It was decided that Mae would keep the part because she was such a great fit. However, Mae Whitman admits she isn't sure if that's really a compliment or not. Richard Blake. We could probably do a whole video about actors who have been casually replaced on Game of Thrones. Heck, we could probably just do a single one about Gregor Clegane, aka the Mountain. But for now, we're going to talk about a major last-minute switch-up involving the Night King. When he first appeared in Season 4, he was played by Richard Blake, but after Season 5, Vladimir Furtick took on the role. There have been a lot of rumors about the change, everything from a simple scheduling conflict to Richard not being committed to the part. But as for Vladimir, there is no question about his dedication to the series. He did stunts in the episodes Sons of the Harpy and Hard Home, as well as being the stunt supervisor for Home and Winds of Winter. Sounds like they went with the right choice. Emily Blunt. In addition to Game of Thrones, it seems like superhero movies also have a super high turnover rate. We all know Scarlett Johansson portrayed Natasha Romanoff, also known as the Black Widow in the MCU, but she was initially rejected from the role and actress Emily Blunt was cast instead. But Emily ended up having to withdraw from the part due to a scheduling conflict involving the movie Gulliver's Travels. In the aftermath of the switch, Emily admitted she wasn't too broken up about the whole thing. She stated that female heroes too often stood in the shadows of male heroes instead of being interesting characters in their own right. While she may have had a point back then, it's safe to say female heroes have come a long way since the early days of the MCU. Ross Butler. Everyone was excited when Riverdale came back for a second season, but something was definitely a bit different. Oh, wait, Reggie was being played by an entirely different person. What happened to Ross Butler, who played the part in the first season? Was there some crazy backstage drama we didn't know about? Actually, the answer is pretty mundane. Ross simply felt he didn't have the time to dedicate to both Riverdale and 13 Reasons Why, so he stepped down from the role of Reggie and Charles Melton ended up taking his place. Claire Foy. Between makeup and CGI, it seems possible to make a star look any age. Just look at how young Samuel L. Jackson appeared in the movie Captain Marvel. But sometimes studios opt to do things the old-fashioned way and replace actors with more age-appropriate ones. When Claire Foy signed on to appear in The Crown, she knew her time was limited. After the first 2 seasons, she would be handing over the crown to actress Olivia Colman. But far from being disappointed, Claire said she was glad to have the ability to move on and do other projects. Being trapped on the same show for years and years isn't something she's interested in. Jason Momoa. Jason Momoa certainly made a splash when he took on the role of Aquaman in the DC universe, but many people don't realize how close he came to being part of the MCU instead. He was actually up for the role of one of the Guardians of the Galaxy until he decided it was all too familiar. Jason was offered the role of the ultra-literal Drax the Destroyer, a part which ultimately went to Dave Bautista. Is Jason too much of a DC purist to play a Marvel character? It turns out he just didn't want another role where he stands around without a shirt on and grunts. His roles on Game of Thrones and Stargate Atlantis weren't exactly dialogue heavy, and he wanted to prove what he was capable of. Okay, Aquaman, whatever you say. John Krasinski. Earlier we mentioned that actress Emily Blunt almost played the role of Black Widow on the big screen, but Emily's real-life husband, John Krasinski, was also near a part of the MCU. Yep, there was a time when he was up for the part of Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, and he felt pretty good about his chances of landing the role. However, during the audition process, he happened to run into actor Chris Hemsworth, who plays the role of Thor. John was immediately intimidated by seeing Chris in his full Thor regalia and realized he didn't have what it takes to pull off being a superhero. He withdrew from the process and the part ultimately went to Chris Evans instead. But I think we're all curious what Jim Halpert would look like in the Captain America gear, looking directly into the camera, right? Asa Butterfield. There have been many different actors who have portrayed the role of Peter Parker both inside the MCU and outside of it. Hey, everyone loves the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man after all, but when Marvel Studios was recreating the character on the big screen, they were looking for the perfect guy for the part. On the short list of consideration was actor Asa Butterfield, who was one of the top contenders, but pretty abruptly he was out of the running and actor Tom Holland was chosen for the role. It's unclear whether Asa or Marvel decided against him being Spider-Man, but we almost had a very different web-slinger in the MCU. Although Marvel Studios did comment that Tom's background in dance and gymnastics helped him get the part. Could you ever picture Spidey not being played by Tom Holland? So what do you think about these actors who ended up being replaced? Are there any of them you wish had gotten the part instead? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section and then click on the subscribe button for more videos from us here at The Taco. Thanks for watching and we'll see you again next time.